Ian was a very wonderful child.
I was a good student. I did AP. I was an honor roll. I made the presidential list one time.
Ian was a great athlete. He loved playing sports.
I loved the game of basketball, and I always had dreams of being a professional, but it didn't work out.
When Ian went to college, he actually had been using marijuana.
I fell in love with smoking. I was smoking every day. My third year of college, I lost motivation to go to college, and I dropped out, and I never went back.
We let him move back in our house with the idea that he would figure out what he wanted to do with his life.
In the year that Ian lived with us, Ian basically did nothing. He didn't get a job. He would sleep super late. He would be at home playing video games. 3 months ago, we had to kick Ian out of our home.
We got a restraining order.
I was shocked when they said that. At first, I thought I was being punked.
The police showed up and had to remove Ian from our home. Ian's tried to come home a couple of times. The very first time that he returned home, my husband and Ian had an argument and the police had to be called. Ian was arrested. He spent overnight in jail.
When I was arrested, I was legally searched. I was not read my Miranda rights. I was being a to the cop because I do know my rights.
Ian has been out of the house for roughly 3 months. He started sleeping on the street.
This whole situation tears me apart. To see him throw his life away is really, really hard. It's very devastating. I just want to know what happened to that fun-loving kid that I sent off to college.
Okay, what did happen in y'all's opinion?
He came home from university at Christmas time and he went back and I started receiving these weird texts that said, "Mom, you know I'm not gay, right?" And I said, "Okay." And then he'd say that people were watching him and his professors knew what he was doing all of the time.
And sports-wise, how was that going for him?
Well, he was in his third year. He no longer played college sports. But according to his friends from college, he stopped going to open gyms. He just sat and played video games and smoked pot all day.
Okay. So he was on a scholarship to begin with.
For 2 years, yes. We didn't see a shift until that third year.
Okay. Now, you said that he acted weird on a family vacation.
This is when it got scary. I mean, to be honest with you, is that we brought him on a trip with us, and you could see that, you know, this looks like Ian, but what he was doing was horrible. I mean, it was schizophrenic is the best way I can describe it. I mean, you're talking personality where he's just sitting there looking off into space and with a big smile on his face, and you're thinking, you know, almost like he was high just for an instant. And then all of a sudden that personality would go away and he would shake it off. And then all of a sudden, then he'd be talking to somebody next to him. There's nobody there.
Did you ever talk to him and say, "Hey, buddy, you know, a few minutes ago, you were talking to somebody that wasn't there.
Yeah.
What's going on?"
Well, there was several
times. Did you do that?
Yes.
And what did he say?
I sometimes talk to myself. Does that bother you? He was constantly making excuses for it.
In July of 2014, he had a drug test because he was involved in rehab, and he tested positive for marijuana, THC.
Correct.
But negative for everything else.
Yes.
Have you talked to him about the marijuana, and what does he say?
He tells us that it's legal and that he should be able to do what he wants.
You basically said, "I want you to move out."
Yes.
He said, "I'm not leaving."
Yes.
You
It came down to, he
finally-
told me that, how are you going to make me move? I'm bigger than you. And so we got a restraining order.
So now he's living on the street with a knapsack as a pillow and a park bench as a bed. That is, unless he's sneaking back onto the property and sleeping in his parents' shed unbeknownst to them.